Welcome back. This is episode 3 of Learn AI with me, Zach Wood. This episode, I'm going to walk you through a workflow that I struggled with, honestly, for quite a while. Had a hard time doing this. I had an idea and a concept for a while that I think could make people a lot of money, um, but it's actually not quite as simple as some of the Facebook ads and things like that make you believe. Um, and this is just making super basic, super simple landing pages for small businesses. So if anybody lives in a small town like I do, there are still a lot of businesses out there that have absolutely no online presence whatsoever. They might have a Facebook page that doesn't get updated, they don't keep up with. They might have a website that somebody put together for them 10 years ago that's super outdated and they don't do anything with, um, which honestly, that's kind of the ideal situation for somebody like me that wants to put it together and then charge them a hosting fee. And hypothetically, they really won't mess with it that much and I won't have a lot of work to do. But what used to cost a lot of money for a software developer to sit there and write up all the code and put it together and host it and all that for somebody now can literally be done in just a few minutes, pretty much with free software. So when you see ads for Cursor and Lovable and all these different things, that's, you know, one prompt and you get a perfectly working app and a fully built out website. I went and tried a bunch of these, and what I found was if you don't get exactly what you want on the first prompt, it steadily gets harder and harder. So they all have like a AI genie chatbot that you can talk to that you tell it, okay, well, I don't really like this. I kind of want to change this. Can we make this bigger? Can we focus more on this? Whatever you want to change. And what it would do, again, this is just what I found. I might be doing it totally wrong, but from what I found, it would write new code and pile that on top of the code that it first created. And after a while, it would just wind up crashing stuff. Now, if you're a software developer and you see the code that it adds and you want to go in and change it and get rid of the old stuff and all that, like that's great. I'm not a software developer, so I needed something that I have a process where I can change stuff as I need to, and I think I found that pretty well. So this is going to be my workflow to build a local business, a pretty basic website landing page, um, and then you can scale that as much as you need to, and I'll show you how to adapt it and how to change it and all that. Um, but again, for just a small town like the one I live in, this is super sellable and marketable. You know, there are, like I said, companies that have no websites or old websites, and I can go knock on the door essentially and say, hey, look, this is what your website could look like, and I'll do it for the first couple I'm going to do for like $50 up front, and then $10 to $15 a month for hosting or something like that. After I get a couple sales and have a working portfolio, I'm planning to bump that up. The goal is to go sell these from $300 to $500 for the original build, which again is a lot cheaper than a software developer sitting there and banging out all the code line by line. And then 20 to $50 a month in hosting, which y'all will see in my process. Like hosting doesn't actually cost hardly anything. But all that being said, I'm gonna switch over to share my screen, and I'm gonna do this from the very, very beginning. So this is gonna be if I've found a local heating and air company, and they do have a website. um, but it's pretty old, and um, I literally found that just by Googling stuff. So I'll go ahead and show you um, what their website looks like right now. Sorry, I probably should have looked this up and have this pulled up way before I got on here. But I swear they've got a website. I found it before. Here we go. So when you go to their About section, it doesn't actually, like most of these tabs take you to an error page like that. They've got a very basic front page here. Um, super, super basic. And so, again, pretty much none of these tabs work. And so I found this, and I think this right here makes it really easy to go sell these guys on a better website. And so, what I start out doing is I literally tell ChatGPT to write me a prompt. So I've already written this out. Um, but I tell it, give me a prompt for DeepSeek to build a landing page for Doe's Heating there in El Dorado, Arkansas, focus on being local, being from South Arkansas, having good prices to help the community. All images should be smiling and happy. Some kind of tagline about high-end quality for affordable prices. Um, and I want to just be able to copy and paste it, right? So now, DeepSeek, for anybody who doesn't know, I'll share the little bit I know about it, and I could be a little bit off or super off. I don't know. But I follow some podcasts that explain stuff pretty well. So DeepSeek is China's main large language model. It's their ChatGPT or Google Gemini or Claude or whatever. Like it is their AI thing that we totally have access to. The main problem with it is that the Chinese government makes absolutely no qualms about the fact that they have access to everything like it's done through DeepSeek. So you have to be careful. Definitely don't go building on there anything that has sensitive information, um, government numbers or IDs or anything like that. Obviously, anything you don't feel comfortable with the Chinese government seeing. For me, a landing page for a local um, heating and air company doesn't seem like anything they don't have access to already. So I go to this site here. I'll put a link to that in the comments or in the description of this episode. But this is off of DeepSeek's background, and I literally took that prompt that ChatGPT gave me, copied it, and pasted it right into here, um, and it's going to start building for me. And now I could take that same prompt and put it in Claude and put it in ChatGPT and put it in Gemini. And all of them will give me some kind of code for a landing site. Um, for whatever reason, ChatGPT seems to always give way too basic of code, like very, very small amounts of code that doesn't actually build you much of anything. Uh, Claude, just every time I've used it, it's run into um, rate limits and messaging limits. Even on the paid plan, you can only get 5 minutes out of Claude or something like that before it says you've run out and need to wait till tomorrow. Um, Google Gemini seems right up there and does a pretty good job. Just for some reason, I've found that I got really good quality results out of this DeepSeek site. Like, it'll sit here and build out 600 lines of code if that's what it takes. And so while that's working, I'll go through some of the other parts of this. Uh, I mentioned Cursor and Lovable and any of the apps you probably see popping up saying that you can just give one prompt and it'll build whatever you want. Replit is one of those, and it's the one that I saw. And when I was super excited about it, because I typed in a prompt and it gave me something right away, I went and paid for like a year of Replit, and so now I'm going to use that above anything else. But like I said, just using its little AI genie thing here, its assistant, first off, that winds up burning through a bunch of credits that you have to wind up paying for. Even if you're arguing with it, trying to fix something that it did, every time it hits a checkpoint, it charges you for that. Um, but what you can do is go to create an app, and if you create with the Replit agent, like it'll go through and try to write all the code for you yourself. Again, I have had very little luck just building something from scratch with that. That might change, I might get better in the future, but for right now, that's what it is. Now, if you go to choose a template, you can take any computer code language that you want. Almost any, I don't know enough about the different computer codes to tell you what's missing on this list. So far, pretty much the only things I've used were Python for building an app and HTML, CSS, JS, um, because it's all front end stuff. ChatGPT will tell you exactly what you need to use if you tell it, hey, I'm trying to build a landing page on Replit. Which template do I need to use? It'll tell you this one right here. Um, so name your project over there, and then you hit create app, and it takes you to this place where you have access to the code, you have access to the assistant. We're not going to mess with that assistant really, um, but what we will do is we're going to, right when this is done, all right, is that all done? Looks like it's still going. Okay, wait for the AI to finish working. Uh, Man, I think we might have crashed in the middle of this build. That's that's a bummer. Maybe it's gonna keep going. That's the hard part of doing this live on here is I really thought that oh man. Well, we're gonna try putting this in one more time and I'll keep talking about the different tools that I've been using and things like that. Um, Hopefully it'll get it right this time. That's the first time that's happened to me so far. Um, but once it builds all of that, then we will go in and literally copy and paste that code into the HTML section of Replit, and all that code will be there. And then in Replit, I'll show you, we have the option to do all kinds of different things. So over here, it's got all the files of whatever app or site you're building. Um, and so for just one basic, simple page of a website, all you need is an index. But if we wanted to have all the different tabs actually connect to a different page, um, we'd be able to come in here and have a file of, and in that we could have different code, and then in index somewhere it would tell it to call to that code. But for our purposes, like, we really don't even need to do any of that. Like, we're just going to be working in the index.html. Super basic. Anybody with any software development skills and expertise will say that this is um, some of the most basic stuff that they ever did. And this is still over here building, which is great. We're at 215 lines of code that I haven't had to write any of it whatsoever. Um, so then in Replit, we have the option to deploy. Now, this is another problem that I ran into with this site is if you deploy something through Replit, it doesn't work well. It's great for testing, but when it actually comes to putting something out there and having a working shareable website to tell people to go to, it's just trash. It crashes all the time. You have to go in and hit run right here for it to work for them, and it'll work for 2 days and then crash again. It's just terrible. But what you can do is connect this to GitHub, and now I don't know what level of person I'm talking to on here. I'm just going to assume you're brand new to this, like I was. So GitHub is, oh, where am I? I want to keep checking on this and make sure it's still going. Uh, GitHub is essentially just a storage site for um, any code. And so I have a few different repositories, is what it's called, uh, which just means different places that code is stored. And so, all right, here we go. It's got us a full working site here. We'll get back to GitHub in just a second. I copy and paste all 406 lines of code. I paste it right over everything in my index. And now here is where that assistant has helped me. Every once in a while, I'll do this and it'll come up with a crash over here. It just won't work. And so I'll use the assistant to go in and inspect for errors or explain something, but mostly inspect for errors, and it'll go through my entire project and find any errors that might be there. But let's take a look at this site, see what we think about it, see if we like it. One thing that I love about these super basic landing pages is it looks like there are all these different tabs, which are what were broken on this guy's last website. And all they really do is scroll, which is great because that's super easy and not going to crash at all. Um, but yeah, like it just scrolled down to the contact page. If you hit schedule service, it takes you to the exact same place. So I would go in, customize all this to be the real information. I'd connect this to a form spree or make.com scenario or something, uh, which if you don't know what that is, I'm going to cover all that in one of my next videos. But essentially, there's super easy ways to make this button automatically send him an email. Very, very basic, very easy to do. But I can go to Doe's Heating and Air this weekend um, and just walk in and essentially say, hey, I've looked at your guys' website. I help local businesses increase their online presence, and I really think that I could help boost your guys' website a little bit and maybe help in some other ways too. And just start out with showing them this, saying, hey, this is what your services could look like. We can customize this. Obviously, we'll add real testimonials, not just complete made up ones here. Um, and that's a great thing. If we want to customize this at all, I can literally take this whole code um, and put it here and say to change the address to, let's see, what's the address right now? All right, we're going to change the phone number to 123-456-7890. And it will read through all of that, um, and it tells you exactly what section to look for, and you can just literally copy this and paste it over that right in here. Um, so I see it opens at A and ends in the end of A. For the hero section, so I would just scroll through here. So let's see, I see a contact section here, and I see a phone number here, so I could literally just go in here and change it. This isn't the same section that I copy and pasted or copied to paste, but it would take a minute to go through here and find that, but it's really not that bad. Whenever they would give me a list of things that they wanted to change, I could go through and walk through it with ChatGPT, telling it, hey, I need to change X, Y, and Z. And once we had the site where we liked it, it looked good. Um, we were happy with how that looked. I would go right here and I need to configure a repository for it. Um, so I'd make a repository right here. You tell it what it's going to be. Goes air, goes landing page. All right, super, super simple, super easy. Um, and then, you know what, you can ask ChatGPT how to go through the whole process of connecting this GitHub or this Git push and pull to to here. You know what? We can we can just walk through it. So I found um, you can go through and do it like this. You can go in and create a repository on GitHub right here. Um, and so now I can go back to my repositories. Let's see. So actually, this is the one that Replit just made for me. And then, man, I'm trying to remember how to do this. I just did one yesterday. But I need to commit this. Oh, it's still in settings. Okay, so now I push this to GitHub. It should automatically come up in here. And then once all that code is in here, so I've got my index right here. That's where we posted all that code. Um, then I need to actually deploy this somewhere. And the best app I found for that, that's free up to a certain amount, is versell.com. There's tons of stuff you can do with it that I really haven't even started digging into all the uses of this. All I've used it for is creating a new project, and then from that project, you import your GitHub to that project, um, and then hit deploy. And that's literally it. Once it deploys and works right, then we will have a fully functional working version of that site, except it did not take the updated version of. Anyway, I'll show you a version that I've already deployed because it takes a few minutes for it to get from Replit to GitHub and GitHub to Vercel. Um, but this is one that once it did make that process, uh, I can go to this website and it'll take me to a real live website. Um, so if I just had this shared and somebody got in on a completely different computer and went to that site, it would actually take them to this working page. This is actually connected to their website. So somebody hits send message, it actually goes to 4L Solutions, which is great. That's exactly what we want. Um, Now, if I wanted a better website than this, again, I'm talking as if you know absolutely nothing, because again, I knew absolutely nothing when I started this. So if you go to namecheap.com, it's a place to buy a domain. Um, so I would type in Doe's Heating and Air.com. And it's going to take me to the closest thing to that that's for sale. And so Doe's Heating and Air.com would cost me $10 a year to own. Now that's probably just for the first year, and then the next year is going to go up to $15. Um, and I can even get it cheaper here with this coupon. But I would buy that, and then you can connect that domain onto right here on Vercel, and it'll deploy it to that domain. Now again, if I go pay $10 for a year of this, and then that's what I get to charge them $30 a month to host their site. Uh, that that turns out to be a pretty good deal for me. Um, so anyway, that's really pretty much the process. I know my doing it in real time like that was kind of choppy and not great. But let's think about it. We've been on here for less than 30 minutes. And in that time, we got to the point where we would have a fully deployed website that you can go out and sell for $300, $400, $500, depending on where you live, what company it is, and how good you're able to make it. Remember that first prompt that I gave ChatGPT was like 2 sentences, so little context, um, very, very little effort spent on prompt engineering there. And then I just copy and pasted that directly into DeepSeek, copy and pasted exactly what it gave me directly into Replit, and then did some stuff with GitHub, which is essentially just copy and pasting what I had Replit and putting it into Vercel, and then hitting deploy and copy and pasting the domain name that you bought to. Um, so that was done with zero um, coding expertise, zero software development, zero skill level in any of those things. Now, I've went through and taken a few online courses and learned some stuff that I can use those skills and build on them even more. But if you just went through and just had the ability to copy and paste different things, especially if you live in a small town, but no matter what, like you can go sell this to the lady who sells cupcakes on Facebook sometimes. You can go help her build a website, and even if you're charging $10, if it takes you half hour to do and you get paid $10 for it, especially if you can get $10 and then $2 a month for hosting and give them the website that's not a custom domain, but whatever Vercel gives you, um, it's all profit. And $10 for 30 minutes, that's $20 an hour. That's not, life changing money, but if you go do a whole bunch of them, or you get one that you can charge 10x that, like all of a sudden, this can turn into a very, very viable side hustle. The only problem is pretty quick you run out of landing pages you can build. So you do this to help build up a little bit of money to buy some time and some equipment and things like that to do the other side hustles, making automations, um, making custom web apps, custom chat bots, and things like that. And we're going to go through pretty much all of those on this site, and I'm going to continue to share stuff as I learn it and as I find out about things. Um, right now, there's probably a closing window, at least for a little while, in my opinion, on uh, what you can do with AI image generation. Just because if you don't know, there's a big lawsuit going on right now. That's really like the first big one between Disney and Midjourney, and they are a really big AI image generation software. You go in, give it a prompt, it makes you an image, super, super good quality at this point. Um, Canva also does really, really good image generation. ChatGPT is getting pretty good itself. Um, but I don't know what this lawsuit's going to do because essentially you could go in and ask for an image of Elsa hang gliding, and Midjourney would make it for you. Now Disney is saying Midjourney made a whole bunch of images without their written consent and without their approval, and it was all copyrighted, and so they're suing. Midjourney's big defense, at least at the very beginning of it, was we just did what we were told. If you're going to sue anyone, you need to sue the people who commissioned a copyrighted artwork, not the person who actually did the picture. Um, again, there's an argument for both sides, and I don't need to go into who I think is at fault. I'm just interested in seeing how this plays out for different AI generation and what that's going to do to our capabilities as users. Because right now, it's getting so good that if we learn how to use it, there's a ton of different opportunities and things like that. But how many of those opportunities are going to kind of get chipped away at and get faded out as people want to get paid for stuff they've always gotten paid for, I guess. Um, so we'll stay up to date on that, and I'll keep following that and figuring that out. Um, yeah, like, subscribe, follow, and we'll be doing this every week, hopefully. Hope this helped. Hope you learned something good. Um, and if anybody's on here and you want to comment what of the things I mentioned that you want to learn more about, be happy to dive into any of that. If anybody comments on here and wants me to do something different, I'm still learning, still figuring this out. So here for whatever. Bye.